ground. We're the only team old Carlton knows. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark blues.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Blue Sunday with one of your hosts here in Bangkok, Joseph Lutzer, and joining me in sunny Melbourne. Is it sunny? I don't know. Vince will tell us.
Well, it was today. It's not sunny now. It's pitch black.
Well, former Carltonian president and life member of the Carlton Football Club, Mr. Vince Lochisano. How are you, Vince?
I'm good, Joe, and lovely to have you with us. And another big result for us on Thursday night, getting up by just the one solitary point. Really does make a massive difference going in with 6 wins and 3 losses instead of 5 and 4 and out of the 8. So it was a game with huge ramifications for us, especially.
It was. Okay, Vince, let's get a few admin issues out the way, and then let's get into it. So as you know, we are primarily a social media production. Excuse me. So for those of you wanting to like, share, and subscribe on Facebook, you can see us at Blue Sunday or at The Jumper Punch. If you're wanting to watch us on YouTube, please go to at The Jumper Punch. You'll get the whole range of all the shows that are available. Also, this show is proudly sponsored by my company, Retired Working For You Tours. We primarily focus on tours here in Thailand. As you can see, we won an award. That's that award down there for Lux Travel. So please, if you're wanting to go to Thailand or even areas around Thailand, come and see me at www.rwforutours.com, or you can send me an email at info@rwforutours.com. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Vince, I've brought it back. I've got a funny photo for you. Are you ready?
I was wondering whether you were going to do that again.
You know how we always question the intelligence of the Collingwood Football Club?
Yes.
Well, I think the same could be said for the Port Adelaide Football Club.
Uh-huh.
Back at Geelong, Friday under lights, Port Adelaide football, courage and fight. Where's the error?
I don't think Adelaide is spelt with the I before the A.
Exactly right. So
Port Adelaide.
I think the Collingwood cheer squad have got to them.
Maybe they've spelt it the way they sound when they're totally drunk. Port Adelaide.
Anyway. All right.
Go Port Adelaide.
Anyway.
I'll tell you one thing, though. It was a huge win for them on Friday night against Geelong. That was massive.
It was. Yeah.
Very similar, in fact, to our game where they got off to a huge head start, kicking 8 goals in the first quarter and managed to hang on by a goal.
Well,
and that's a very similar game to what happened with Carlton and Melbourne the night before.
I think Peter V. Bluebagger has been to the same school as the Adelaide Chiefs. Adelaide Chiefs squad. Anyway, Vince, we have someone special waiting for us in the background. He's our special commentator, none other than 1987 Premiership player and Norm Smith medalist, Mr. David Rhys-Jones. Good evening, David. How are you tonight?
Yeah, great, thanks. Yeah, and you got to remember that Port Adelaide historically were black and white stripes like Collingwood, and their supporters are much the same. Not too many trams and trains. So nothing surprises me there.
No. Hey, David, before we get into any football, let's give it a plug. As you all know, David's son Cooper has Prader-Willi syndrome, and this is their month for raising funds. So it's the 15 for 15 challenge. I did put that web address in white. I don't know why it's coming up in blue, but it's if you go to https:// FOR15. So 15for15.com.au. And I'm sure that our supporters would gladly donate. I've just donated $50 myself. So I want everyone else to dig into their pockets.
Yeah,
so
and look,
boys,
obviously a cause close to my heart. And
exactly.
then you can Google 15 for 15 and find it there, and or jump on some of my social media posts and look at all the fun and games we're having in there, and donate through there. And there's a good prize for a trip to Bali too, a luxury trip to Bali. One person will walk away with at the end of our fundraising. So it'll be a good prize to win.
Excellent.
And David, it's a good cause.
Oh, look, it's a great cause, and obviously my son has Prader-Willi syndrome. It's not a very well-known condition, and it affects probably 1 in 15,000 to 20,000 births, and no rhyme or reason. It's just a freak of nature, and the 15th chromosome is altered in some way, and it's either deleted or partially deleted, and it affects the part of the brain that's a hypothalamus, which regulates basically everything we do. It regulates our body temperature, our hunger, our thirst, and everything. So that's not working properly, and these people who have Prader-Willi syndrome live with that every single day of their life. And it's a big challenge and things, and we don't get much recognition or help along the way. So that's why we have a bit of a fundraiser each year, and try and raise a few funds to help people who have the problem and make sure they have a better life.
No worries.
Well done, Reece.
Also, Vince, we forgot to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. So,
yes, absolutely. Happy Mother's Day to all the mums out there.
Yep.
And, your mum still around, Reece, I would hope?
Yeah, mum's still going. Yeah.
Well,
She's
that's
going
good.
strong down in Rosebud. So
is mine. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
mine's
12 years ago.
Not all that well these days, but we had some good time with her on Mother's Day. What about you, Joe?
No, Mum and Dad died 12 years ago. My father was 101 when he passed away, and my mother was 91. So
sounds like you've got a long life to look forward to then.
Oh God, I don't want it. No, as long as I've got someone to look after me, maybe. Anyway. Hey, gents, there was a game on Thursday night that we need to get to. Vince, do your stuff.
All right, well, there we have it. Carlton, home game against Melbourne at the MCG, and got off to a flying start. Probably one of the best first quarters we've played under Michael Voss, if not the best. Kicking 5 goals straight, so making the most of the dominance that we had in that first quarter. 30 points to zip at quarter time. And then, of course, the next 2 quarters, you see that it was really sort of almost goal for goal. Melbourne were trying to rein in that deficit, but every time they kicked a goal, they seemed to work very hard for it. And as soon as they'd kick one, we'd answer it. So the second quarter, 3 goals each. The third quarter, it was 3 goals each until Melbourne got a late one, which brought them back to within 22 points at 3-quarter time. They kicked 4 goals to 3 in that third quarter, and you could just smell that, they weren't out of the game, and that if they had a big last quarter, it could go right down to the wire, and that's exactly what happened. They kicked 4 goals, 4 to only 1 goal, 1 in that last quarter, but time ran out, and too late she cried, and we got up by a point. Carlton, 12 goals, 5. Very good kicking for goals, 77. To Melbourne, 11 goals, 10, 76. In what was another cliffhanger, and what is now starting to really develop into a substantial rivalry between these two teams. I think for the first time in recent history, at least, I'm not sure if there was ever much rivalry going back to the halcyon days when Melbourne were winning premierships left, right, and centre in the 50s. Carlton weren't all that good in the 50s. But certainly there's a really strong rivalry developing between these two clubs, and they are 2 of the bigger clubs in Victoria. So it's good to see us develop a rivalry with another big club in Melbourne other than just Collingwood or Essendon or Richmond.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go, 1 point victory, and that solidifies our position within the 8.
Let's have a look at the stats. Vince, go for it.
Okay, these are the stats that seem to differentiate the two sides more than any others. Contested possessions, there's 8 difference there. There's not a lot of difference in that one. We just won the contested ball, whereas they won a lot more of the outside ball, 207 to 187 in uncontested possessions. Contested marks, again, probably our tall forwards and even key backs were very good at taking contested marks, 12 to 9. The hit-outs, Melbourne had the advantage there, 51 to 32. But when you look at the clearances, they were actually quite even in overall clearances, but it's the centre clearances that we won 14 to 10, despite Max Gawn winning most of the hit-outs in the middle. Marks inside 50, 10 to 8. And there again, probably those key forwards coming to the fore. Tackles. Now, for the second week in a row, we seem to be out-tackled. 86 to 68, including 16 to 9 inside 50. So they really did come back hard at us. 1%ers. I think, Joe, you might have this the other way around, mate.
Yeah, that's
I think
inside 50s.
I think you'll find.
That's inside 50s, that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
yep.
That's. But
it's inside 50s. 20 more inside 50s they had than us.
You might have done that a bit incorrectly. Inside 50s were 61 to 41. So Melbourne had a lot more balls going inside 50. You'll see the following stat there, inside 50 efficiency. So because we had 41 inside 50s, we had 17 scoring shots. That gives us 41% scores from our inside 50s, whereas Melbourne only had 34%, just about a third of their inside 50 entries ended up in scoring shots of 21. So they weren't as efficient with the ball as they ought to be, and we've known that they've got some issues in their forward 50, that's for sure. What you'll find is that 1%ers, Carlton actually won the 1%ers. So we did a lot of smothering, a lot of shepherding, those sorts of things, punching the ball away, all those little things that matter. Shooting accuracy, again, also, as I mentioned earlier when I read out the scores, Carlton, 12 goals, 5 gives you a 71% success rate with shooting, kicking for goal. Melbourne's was just a bit over 50%, 11 goals from 21 scoring shots. So you can see there that it was fairly even, and I guess, when you've got a 1-point result, you'd expect them to be fairly even. But in the end, Melbourne had a lot more opportunity. They just weren't very efficient with it in the end. But we certainly got away to a big start, and that really helped.
Okay. David, take it away. Give us your analysis of the game.
Yeah, look, I mean, we started fantastically and played finals type footy. It was sensational. I mean, we really came to play. We won the contested possession, and I think that's was evident most of the night. But it wasn't until later in the game that we sort of allowed them to get outside and get that uncontested possession and get their play on game going. But look, the big move, Kennedy on Petrarca early was a fantastic move from our point of view, and he hardly touched the ball. But Melbourne made one move really for the night, and it upset our whole equilibrium in some way. We basically went from dominating to one person putting on a show down the other end, and we didn't seem to have any way of stopping him. Joe, I would have done exactly that. I would have told Kennedy to go down and stay on him, and why not while you're on top of a player, get down there, play him one-on-one, and have a go. You couldn't have done worse. I mean, Petrarca couldn't have done any better down there. So, I would have liked to have seen Kennedy go down there and just be that presence, beside him. And he, Petrarca would have taken him around and taken him down deep and made him feel uncomfortable, which he did to all of our backmen. But we didn't have an answer for him. So, in the coaching box, you've got to give Goodwin the tick for that one, because it was a move that we didn't handle very well. And, you sort of worry because your A-grade players, they're the players who are going to win your matches. I mean, Petrarca had a pretty poor first quarter, but good players. They're gonna come back. They're gonna fight back, and they're gonna do things, and they're gonna win your games if they can. So Petrarca's one of those players, and he needs to be minded a lot better than what we did. But he's a star, and you can't keep the stars down either. So, but I thought the way we hit them early in the match, in the contested stuff, was fantastic, and that's what'll win us. Hopefully win us. Flag number 17 at the end of the year. But they've got to be doing that for 4 quarters. They've got to really be going hard at it for 4 quarters. And that tackling stat is a worry, and it's a worry most weeks. I think we get out tackled most weeks. So, and a lot of broken tackles too. I get really frustrated with the broken tackles because they get there, they get their arms around them, and these players are able to break free. So I can't understand that. You grab hold of them, you keep hold, and you don't get let go for dear life. So that's probably an area we have to look at. But look, in saying all this, we've had a lot of injuries and players coming in and out of the team week in, week out. And I think it was 4 changes last week, 4 changes this week. It can be a little bit unsettling as well. So we need to get our better players back in. Good to see Jack Martin running around. He took a good mark early and kicked the goal, and didn't do a huge amount after that. But he's going to be much better for the run, and he's a real danger down forward. And the opposition teams are really going to have to monitor him closely. So there's some real firepower getting back down into our forward line. I thought Owies did a great job down there as well. And it's good to see one of those small forwards, getting amongst the goals and kicking some goals, because we need to really take that pressure off the big 2 down there, Harry and Charlie. You can't just rely on them to kick all the goals. And Walshy, I thought Sam Walsh was fantastic. Being at the game, was my first game for the year. You just forget how hard Sam Walsh works, and I know he's got his critics, and people say he's not great in the defensive side of it. But if you see how hard he works time and time again, and you don't see it on the tally. I've watched every game on the tally this year, and Sam's only probably played the last 3 or 4 games, and but he's a machine. He is just a running machine, and he runs to where the ball is. He gets the ball. He just fantastic. I love the way he goes about it. So I thought he was terrific and really set us up early in the game, helped set us up. But our midfield dominance was quite pronounced early, and I thought, we really did dominate until that those few changes, and allowed Melbourne to just creep back into the game. They just slowly worked their way back in. And then the last quarter, they had a real crack, and we went negative. It was just whole negative. I mean, from the 10-minute mark, it was probably 10 minutes to go in the last quarter, and Charlie Curnow was running full pelt down to the back line every time. I just couldn't understand that. We needed to score, put some more score on the board, and put it out of reach of them. And footy's changed a lot, but that scoreboard pressure, you can't beat it. You just got to keep that scoreboard ticking over, and we went right into defensive mode. It plays into the hands of your opposition because the ball's in their forward line, and it gives them opportunities to score. So a little bit lucky there that we held on to win, but it was a good win. And just one thing I want to touch on, the Brian Taylor comment about Kemp. Bloody disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. And if you went back through the match, you would see players doing that at the 5-minute mark of the first quarter, not so much a couple of minutes to go in the game. Players in every team go to win free kicks. I don't know whether Kemp did or he didn't, but even if he did, he's quite within his rights to do it, and all players do it. So that was a disgraceful comment, and it just caused a bit of a stir, and just ridiculous, really.
I mean, I never saw Brian Taylor trying to play for a free kick either, did you?
Well, yeah, exactly. And
he's a flog of the biggest degree, that guy.
Well, he hates Carlton, put it that way. He's not a Carlton. He hates Carlton. So, and he shows his bias there, and it stands out, so who cares about Brian Taylor?
Oh,
I wish I'd have whacked him harder. He's one of me 25 victims. I wish I'd have whacked him harder.
Maybe you whacked him too hard, Reese, and you gave him a bit of brain damage or something.
Well, maybe
David,
that's why you don't like Carlton.
What do you think of Pitnet? I mean, he was going up against the number one ruckman in the competition. I thought he did. I thought he did okay.
I thought Pitnet was fantastic, and he got under Gawn's skin. He annoyed him, and I think I don't think Gawn likes playing against Pitnet. Pitnet's really physical with him, and he got upset a few times, Gawn, and you very rarely see that. So he got under the skin, and I like that sort of thing. I think need to see more of it, sort of thing, and especially the opposition. But he matched him, and Gawn kicked a goal late in the game, which is a good mark and so forth, but I don't think his influence on the game was anywhere near it has been, and full credit to Mark Pitnet for that, because he really did play one-on-one with him and make him earn every single kick.
David, there's a question here from AIR. Pito's been good so far. If he's fit, why drop him? I'm not sure that's the right call. Who do you replace him with? I don't really think they will drop him.
I don't think he's going to be dropped. No, I don't think. I think he's part and parcel, part of the furniture now, and I think it's he's been in for some finger surgery, hand surgery, finger surgery, whatever. So whether he comes up and is able to play this week, we're still not quite sure, but. He's definitely part of our best 20. What is it now? 23, is it? 23, 24, whatever. Best. Well, part of our best 18 anyway. He'll be there, and we've got Tommy De Conning. Sorry.
What do you think of Tommy? Do you reckon he rucks better without Pito? I think he's still young and learning.
They probably do, but we've got a bit of firepower down there with the three tools. So. Look, Sydney this week's going to be a different kettle of fish, because centre half forward gets overlooked there. So we need our at least one of Harry or Charlie outside of the 50 and taking marks up around the wing or through the midfield or whatever, because it's a different ball game up at the SCG.
Yeah. Vince?
Reece, you mentioned Jack Martin and the impact he had initially in the first quarter. He was one of a few changes. The other one I thought that had an immediate impact down the back was Mitch McGovern. I thought he really made his presence felt down there. What did you make of his game in an overall sense, and especially in that first quarter?
I thought he was very good. He used the ball so well too. He can do some dumb things at times, and you sort of scratch your head and think, what's he doing? But he's getting used to playing. He's played all his life as a forward, as a key forward type of thing, a marking option down there, and he's still learning the back line. But when you talk about the back line, you can only really talk about one bloke, and that is Jacob Wiedering. He just holds that back line together, and just. I think it was the first time this year I saw him get beaten on a one-on-one. It was petty late in the game, and it was one of the only times I've seen Wieders actually beaten in a one-on-one contest this year. So he's just been fantastic, and he really does hold that back line together. But McGovern back there, I think Chincotta, I think he did a pretty good job back there. It was good to see Kent back there as well. But we've got
Chincotta did well on Cosy Pickett. But I just feel that Wiedering seems to grow in confidence and do a lot more daring things there in that back line when he's got McGovern there. I don't see the same signs when you've got Lewis Young. Even McGovern, he'll swing around onto his left foot even, and he'll kick the ball quite well even on his wrong foot. Yep. Whereas Lewis Young, you wouldn't see that. You'd see him go back, hesitate, look around, take a while to get rid of it. You don't get the same level of confidence from him as you do with McGovern.
Yeah, look, I don't know. They've been there two different players and they play different types of roles. Lewis will play more on those taller types. McGovern can play on a small. He can play small or tall. So that's a bonus of having him back there. I think Marchbank's penciled in as the other one to come back in to play on those taller types. So which will then be able to release McGovern a little bit more. And he's an attacking type of player too, McGovern. His kicking is beautiful as well. And yeah, here we go, Vince, and Williams is the other one who'll come
Play
back.
Williams in the midfield. Well, geez. Not sure about that. I mean, we tried when he first came over to the club and he couldn't handle it. Hasn't got the engine for it. But the other one I thought that was a key matchup was, you mentioned DeConning. He actually took Lever out of the game, and having that third tall prevented Lever from having the sort of roaming around influence that he normally has in that back line. I think his effectiveness was diluted quite significantly by having DeConning on him. He didn't seem to want to leave DeConning. He was too frightened of leaving him alone for fear of him taking marks. And that shut down Lever to a large extent, especially in that first quarter.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a bonus of having those three tools down there. You can't let one go. And, and Lever is an intercepting beast. He's one of those guys who will play off his man. He'll be 5-10 metres away, but he couldn't do that. He couldn't play his game, and that's that happens. You've got to change your role from time to time and play a different role. And he had to play a different role, of course. And I thought him and May, they were the two we had to try and break down, and we were able to do that very early in the game. We broke their back line, right apart, and were able to score quite well.
What did you make of that matchup? Sorry, Joe, just one last one. What did you make of that matchup between Charlie Curnow and Stephen May? I noticed that Charlie, and I think one of our viewers there made a comment that was good to see Charlie up the ground a lot more. What did you make of that duel, and how do you think Melbourne handled it when Charlie went up the ground? They basically let him go, didn't they?
Yeah, and that's their decision. He's outside 50. I see them. Teams will be thinking he's less of a danger outside 50, but I disagree with that. That kick he hit Owies, I think it was, when he could have gone to Harry Mackay, but such as his football nous and vision that he is able to see Owies there on his own and pinpointing him inside 50, and it was a beautiful kick. And that's one thing about Charlie and Harry to a certain extent. He's a beautiful kick as well. And if we can get one of those boys outside 50 regularly, I think it's going to really help us a lot, and it's going to have to drag someone out of that back line too and open it up a bit. So you can't let them run around on their own. Charlie's the one I'd like to see up there a lot more. I think he's got a bigger tank, and I reckon he could he can really do that. And he took a couple of good marks in the back line as well when he was deep in defence late in the game. Get him around the ball, get him in the play more often, and I think we'll see more Kuda-like stuff out of him. Maybe that's what I like to see.
I still think, David, our small forwards need a bit of work. I thought Owies played well, but to me the jury's out on Durden. I mean, I saw him trying to take mark of the year over Charlie and Tom DeConning. I mean, stay down.
Yeah, and hopefully the forward coaches are grabbing him and saying, look, you don't need to be jumping over them. You need to be at the front of the pack. When the ball comes down, if those boys don't mark it, and his percentage in taking a mark over the top of them is very, very minute. So it's a waste of energy, and he's in the wrong spot. And hopefully the forward coaches can grab him, and because I reckon most small forwards would love to have the likes of Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow and Tom DeConning down there. Any other small forward would feast off that, but we don't seem to get the crumbing goals. Even with Owies is leading up a lot and putting himself in position and taking marks and kicking set shot goals. So from that crumbing perspective, I'd love to have Eddie Betts of 10 years ago, but unfortunately we don't have that. We don't have Papley, who we tried to get. He would have been fantastic at it. So, we've got to do with what we've got, and hopefully these boys can improve, and hopefully they can get back and show them, where they should be getting, and where they really should be, because it's pretty predictable. You can be predictable, be be good too.
All right, Reese, well, quarter time and we're all feeling like, wow, what a start. 5 goals to nothing. Obviously not a match-winning lead, but a very, very good start. And you knew that from that point on we were going to be in this game either going to have a comfortable win. In fact, some people were probably around me talking like, oh, this will get out to a 10-goal win plus. Or even if Melbourne came back at us, we were still going to be in the game all the way through till the end. Now, some people think that we matched it with them in the second and third quarters. Other people don't agree with that sentiment. They feel that we were more reactive, that they were the proactive ones. What did you make of the second and third quarters where it seemed to have a pattern where Melbourne was working extremely hard for every goal they were getting, and we'd respond pretty quickly as soon as they got one?
Yeah, I think that was a good thing about it. We were able to counter them when they did score goals, and as we mentioned, Petrarca was the main danger. He was just he was kicking goals or setting them up down there. So I'm a little bit surprised we didn't weren't a lot tighter on him, and I don't know who we could have played on him, to be honest.
He's a class act, isn't he? He's just
I would have given Kennedy that. Because Kennedy was on top of him, I just would have left him there to start with. And then, if it didn't work, change it round. But I would have stuck with that. But, the powers to be and the coaches decided not to and stuck with their defence. And the way defences work and the good defences now, they do allow openings to happen up, and because, it's a full-on game once you have the ball to go hard. So, quite often we've only got one or two back, whether it be Wiedering and one other or two others back in that defensive sort of mold, because you got to get players running and going forward and holding the ball into the forward line and scoring from it. So it's a little bit different to the way we played back years ago, but you can't let A-graders like Petrarca off the hook and running around.
And then, of course,
from Rash.
Yes.
Vince, sorry, just had a comment from Rash in the sandpit. How are you, Rash? Hope you're well.
G'day, Rash, all the way from Dubai. Well, the last quarter, what did you make of that? And I guess the big question is, was that a great win by Carlton, or was that the great escape by Carlton? Because again, depending on which way you look at it, you can come out feeling very positive about the result, or you can come out scathing because, some people say, well, really good teams, top four teams, premiership teams, would not allow that sort of thing to happen when you're 38 points up and then all of a sudden, the opposition gets to within a point.
Yeah, look, I'm sitting up in the crowd at the end when the siren blew. It was a little bit of a hollow victory in a lot of ways. You're sort of thinking, geez, we fell over the line in the end and we shouldn't have done that. But you've got to give credit where it's due. Look, Melbourne won a premiership not too long ago. They're a very, very good team. They've got some real stars all over the ground. They've got some real hard nuts too. And, they weren't going to be down all games. So they're always going to fight back. The one thing I would have liked to have seen us having a bit more of a positive attitude in that last quarter. I think we went too negative. I just think we needed to put score on the board and put the game out of reach of the opposition. I mean, that's always the easiest way. Just keep that scoreboard ticking over. And sitting there, I kept saying, we've got to get another goal. We've got to get the ball. But everyone was flooding back. They're just pushing back too far that it really was going to make it hard. And, hard for us to score. So, I think we didn't help ourselves towards the end.
That's the last quarter. What about those middle two quarters? I mean, we played such positive football for the first quarter. What did you see we did differently, if anything, in the second and third quarters where we didn't have that dominance over them? Was that because of something we did different, or did they just change what they brought to the table in terms of the way they structured up and the way they went about the game?
Well, they couldn't score early on. They were getting the ball inside 50. They couldn't score, and it wasn't until Petrarca got down there and he weaved his magic sort of thing that they were able to score. So they had a different avenue and different way of going inside 50. So that was an obvious difference that happened. But I thought we played pretty well and we held them pretty well. And as you said, we were able to counter attack a few times when they did score goals. We were able to get back on the board with them and score one of our own a couple of times straight out of the middle, sort of thing. So I think we were doing quite well. We're playing against a quality football team. You've got to remember that. I mean, they would have gone in as favourites, I think, for the game and probably been playing as well, or if not better football than we have. So they would have gone in as favourites, and I think we won it in the first quarter basically, and that we're able to hang on for the rest of the game, and so when you look back on it like that, you sort of think, but I look at how we can, and I think it's Mark Pitnet was in the reporting that he was saying that he doesn't think we're playing our best football yet, and I think we're far from it. I think we are playing it in parts, but we haven't put a good 4-quarter effort in yet. And I'd love to do it this week because we've really got to have a 4-quarter effort this week. This is going to be our real tough one up there. Sydney Swans in magnificent form at the moment, and we really need to take it up to them. And you give them a sniff on their home turf, they'll bury us. So we need to play 4 quarters this week. Not sure who's due to come back. Hopefully there's a couple, but it's going to be an interesting game this week and against a very good team.
You got to hand it to our defence. Sorry, one more thing, Joe. You got to hand it to our defence. I thought, considering how many inside 50s they had, the job that Jacob Weitering did on Harrison Petty basically kept him possessionless almost for 3 quarters. I thought Bailey Fritsch was, always going to be the danger man down there, and he didn't have much of an influence either. Turner was another one that didn't have much of an influence, and Cozzy Pickett, of course, is always a danger as a small forward down there, and he didn't really have a massive influence either. Kept well held by Chincotta and Van Rooyen as well. So he didn't do all that much. So I thought, considering how many of their forwards had really poor nights, as you said, Petrarca was the one who came to their rescue. But, geez, if any of them had have had a reasonable night, we might have been in trouble.
Oh, look, I think it's a definite weakness of the Melbourne Football Club. They've got one of the best back lines in the competition. They've got one of the best midfields. It's their forwards who continually, aren't. A bloke said to me before the game walking in, he said, "We score 80 points, we win the game." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Melbourne, they just can't score more than 80 points." So, and I think we got to 77, was it, or something like that? So we didn't get to 80, but we won the game. 76. Yeah. So I kept thinking, get that extra goal to get to 80, and then. But,
there was a controversial decision in that last quarter where, in fact, they would have had a goal if it wasn't for the fact that the umpire decided to pay a dangerous tackle against Jacob Van Rooyen for a tackle on Brodie Kemp. Now, that was a very controversial decision at the time. Boy. No, I'm not saying it decides. No one decision decides a match, because there's hundreds of decisions and non-decisions that are made during a game. But do you think that the umpires are getting a little bit, how can I put this? Are they getting a little bit over conscious and over sensitive about the minute they see a player's head even touching the surface of the ground? Because Brodie Kemp's, would have been lucky to put his hair out of place, that tackle.
Well, and exactly. I mean, it's not as if the ground was wet; it was soft.
He rolled him over beautifully, I thought. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful that we got the free kick and prevented them from getting a goal. But gee whiz, I just couldn't help but think that they were dudded out of a goal there that was at a very crucial stage of the last quarter, and I can tell you the MCC members weren't too happy with it either for the rest of the game. But do you think the umpires might be getting a little bit oversensitive about the head-high stuff and dangerous tackles where the player might, the player's head might touch the ground?
They're umpiring to the instructions that are given to them from the AFL. And it's the AFL who are imposing that type of stuff onto the umpires. So if the umpire sees a player's head hit the ground, they're going to give a free kick, and you've just got to be so careful when you do tackle. I mean, put it this way: back in our day, we tackled to hurt someone, and you got the pat in the back if you did, because but it's different now. It's probably. I don't like the rule. I don't like the rule dangerous tackle. I think it just opens it up, and players are smart too.
That was my next thing. Do you think players
are smart
are milking it now and throwing themselves forward and making sure that their head maybe scrapes the ground so that they get that dangerous tackle?
Well, we looked at the high tackle stuff, which has been going on for years, sort of thing, and Joel Selwood was able to manipulate it. We saw Ginnivan. He almost gets crucified now because of what he was doing, and he was picking up free kicks. So you work umpires to the way they are umpiring, and that can be in a match. You'll get a pretty good gist of how they're going to umpire and how they're seeing it, or what they've been told during the week to look out for. And you adjust accordingly, and you're trying to track free kicks. You're mad if you don't. If you can, if you've got an opportunity to draw a free kick, then why wouldn't you? It's better in your hands than the opposition. So
exactly.
And every team does it. Every player does it. So the criticism on Kemp, I thought, was a bit over the top. But
why single him out? I just thought it was wrong. David, we've had someone suggest that next Friday night's game should be called the David Rhys-Jones Cup.
It could be the Rhys-Jones-Williams Cup. We can go up there and get him out on the SCG again, and I can take him to that spot where he broke my jaw. And
I was just going to say,
get the gloves on again and see. Could even it up.
The broken jaw cup.
The broken jaw cup. The Revenge Cup or something.
Did you ever get your revenge on that one?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. You
never got to rearrange his jaw?
No, I didn't. And then they recruited him to Carlton. So as soon as I got him to Carlton, I'm thinking, geez, I'm going to have to run him over in the car park now. How do I get him
training?
Hey, training. Well, they wouldn't let me train beside him. So
that's right. It was 1992, which was your last year of playing football. That the two of you played together in the same Carlton team. That would have been interesting. Although I think he missed the first 8 or 9 games of the season through suspension. Anyway.
We've got the Bernie Evans Cup now.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Bernie.
Peter Bedford.
Good mate of mine. Peter Bedford also, great Carlton player.
Yeah.
He won a Brownlow with South Melbourne.
Like Peter McKenna and Mickey McGuan.
They did most of their good work at other clubs. Came here for a bit of superannuation. Anyway, it was an interesting game. And just to sum it up.
Sum up the game for us.
Yeah, look, overall 4 points. You put the 4 points in the bank, and as you say, we'd be outside the 8 right now if we didn't win. We're still sitting in 7th spot. It's pretty tough up there at the moment. You're winning games and going down the ladder. But it's we got the 4 points. I think we played some pretty good football over the course of the night. We held on. I think that's another positive. And most of all, we're going to get a bit more quality back into that team too, and that's certainly going to help us. And if we can get these players back and get some games into them. Jack Martin, he needs more footy into him, and if he can get a good run at it and come into September, he can be lethal come September. So really looking forward to getting some more players back in and get our best best team out there. I think we're going to be very, very hard to beat. So onwards and upwards for the Blues, I think. And I wasn't, as I said, sitting there was a bit of a hollow feeling straight after the match. But looking back in hindsight, I think there are enough positives to come out of it and there's probably a few blokes in there who won't be in there when September's coming.
Vince?
Well, after having lost to Collingwood the previous week by a goal with just over a minute to go, I guess that was the best way to respond and get the chocolates in the end in another nail-biting result the following week. But there's no doubt that first quarter is what set us up. What I noticed was that, and it surprised me because I really thought that we would be the team that finished the game stronger than them. But Melbourne, coming off a 5-day break in their victory over Geelong the previous Saturday night, played on Thursday night where they seemed to be sort of half asleep for the first quarter, and then all of a sudden they woke up and started to really play, and they finished the game really strongly for a team that only had a 5-day break. It was us that looked like the team that had the 5-day break in that last quarter, I thought.
Just on that though, I think it was the tactics that we used though. We went into a negative. Let's restrict them rather than score ourselves. And
is that coaching? Is that coming from the coaching side of things, or is that something that's happening on the ground? And Cripps has got to start, marshalling the troops and saying, "Come on, guys, don't go into your shells. Let's keep attacking."
Well, when it's 10 minutes to go and you've got Charlie Curnow playing in full back or deep in defence, then you got to look at it and say, well, what we're trying to save the game now. That's what we were doing. We're trying to save the game. So I think
dangerous, wasn't it?
Had as much to do with the tight score than
it was a real change of momentum. It was a huge momentum change in that last quarter.
Yep.
But anyway, we got away with it. The great escape, in my view, more than a great win. But I guess a win is a win is a win, and the 4 points get added to our tally, whether it's a 1-point win or a 100-point win. I just thought we had a chance to make a statement. We were 5 goals up after quarter time, and I thought after having held them for a quarter or two, I thought a really good team would have gone on to score a very healthy, almost percentage-boosting win. But as you said, we went into defensive mode, and in the end, I thought we were very, very fortunate to hold on. But anyway,
we don't need to be doing it this week. We don't want to be doing that this week.
No,
you don't want to be trying to hang on against the Swans. They use the ball too well. So
that's true.
They'll destroy you.
Be interesting to see whether they've got McCartan playing for them, because he went down with a bit of a.
I think he's got a concussion. Yeah, he's got a concussion protocol, so he won't be playing.
So he won't be playing. Geez, that's a huge bonus for us.
Yep.
Not having McCartan on either Mackay or Curnow, it's going to really test their defence.
It's going to stretch them. And what you'd like to see is us to have a real attacking nature and think, let's just get the ball down to these boys, get it down to them quick. And forget the defensive aspects of it. But, you really want to get it in quick and let them do the job down there.
Yeah,
exactly. All right, let's get to the votes. David?
Yep. Sammy Walsh, I was just really impressed with the way he works. He his first quarter was sensational, and he just didn't stop after that. He just works so hard. Jacob Wiedering, for all the reasons we've mentioned before. And Cripper, I snuck him in for that last vote only because I really couldn't find anyone else, but I thought that he turned the ball over a few times in crucial situations, and just a couple of his disposals are poor. But he's another one who just works really hard, and his inside work, especially early in the game, was terrific. So he got the one vote.
Okay. Vince?
I noticed you two had exactly the same.
I think we copied.
I actually went for Wiedering as best man on the ground. I thought he was absolutely sensational in the work that he did, how he generaled that defence. He kept Harrison Petty down to, I think I looked up Petty's possessions at 3/4 time, and I think he had 2 possessions, 1 kick and 1 hand pass. And he basically rendered him ineffectual for the entire game. And Petty can can actually influence games in a big way. I know he's probably more of a traditional defender, but he's played up forward before and kicked bags of goals before. I remember I think he kicked 6 on one particular occasion. So Wiedering did a brilliant job down there, not only holding his opponent to very, very few possessions, but also just intercepting, pointing, and basically captaining the side back there. I thought he was brilliant. I gave Cripps 2. Again, another huge workmanlike performance. That tackle there in the last minute or two of the game where Petrarca was trying to get through and they basically got him. I think it was a combined effort between Cripps and who was the other one? There was 2 of them that went for him anyway. They ended up getting was it Newman? I think maybe our viewers can help me out there on the chat, but I think Cripps was one of them, and it was just a huge effort to lay that tackle there in the end. He did so many of those 1%ers during the game. So I gave him 2, and I gave Walsh 1. I couldn't leave him out of the vote. So apologies to a few Carlton players. I thought Chincotta did a brilliant job on Cozzy Pickett. He could have been a match winner for them. He was one that I felt did a brilliant job down back. And I thought even Boyd played a pretty good game on his halfback flank on Chandler. So there were quite a few others that could have been put in for the 1, but I thought on weight of numbers, Walsh and Cripps, I think both had something around 34, 35 possessions. When you're getting the ball that much and using it as well as they did on the night, couldn't leave them out of my votes.
Yeah. I similar to David, Sam Walsh, he does a lot of work, that guy. Jacob Wiedering was just a rock in defence. The third vote, I tossed up between Cripps, Newman, and Chincotta, but I think Cripps sort of got my vote because of the work that he did. He's shocking on his left foot, isn't he? God. Some of those kicks on his left foot. Hey, one thing I did want to mention.
Just one thing I'll bring up too, just while we're on these votes, sorry. Sammy Walsh, when we talk about our tackling, he had 11 tackles. And we talk about how we've been.
That was the other thing about Walsh.
11 tackles. 11 tackles in a game is pretty bloody good. So,
well, especially when we got out tackled.
Yeah, Wiedering, you watch Wiedering, he does go for his marks at times, but his spoiling is probably the best I've ever seen. He spoils to the right spot if he's going to hit it through for a behind or he hits to the boundary line. He really controls where he directs the spoil to every time and always finds the right spot. So he's terrific in that. And that it doesn't come up on a stat sheet, but
1%, that's all it is.
It's just he's just brilliant at it.
Yep.
Anyway,
agree.
So that brings us to we got a new leader. Patrick Cripps has regained the lead from Harry McKay. So Patrick Cripps goes to 35, McKay 33, Sammy Walsh 24, Wiedering 20, and Akers 13. You know what's scary? Every year it's the same players. But that's
the good thing is you want your best players playing well, and that's you're going to win a lot of games if your best players are up there in your top 5. So I wouldn't be too worried about that.
No. And now, David, it's time for our Spirit of Carlton Award. And let me play the drum roll, Vince, and then David can announce who the winner is.
And I think this is going to happen more often now. The guy who gets under the skin of his opponent is going to be my Spirit of Carlton Award winner. And this week it was Mark Pitnett, and he really took it up to Maxi Gawn and in a real physical way and got him, upset him a little bit. So, Pitto, you win it, and let's hope your finger's not too bad and the operation's been successful and you can play this week because, we're going to need you out there. So probably not as important up on the Sydney Cricket Ground. If Tom DeConning has to take the ruck, it's not going to be that much of a disappointment, but I'd love to see you in the team.
I don't think Sydney have got a number one like a ruckman like Max Gawn, have they?
Yeah, called Brody
remember.
Grundy.
I'm going to say, have you heard of a bloke called Brody Grundy? He's going all right too.
Is he? I don't know. I haven't seen many Swans games, Vince.
Obviously.
He's doing pretty well, mate.
Is he?
It didn't quite work at Melbourne last year, where he had to try and share it with Max Gawn, but it was like having two bulls in the same in the same paddock.
In the same paddock.
But he's certainly doing well in Sydney, that's for sure.
So that brings us to next week.
Yep.
Friday night, SCG 7:40. David, give us a prediction and what you think might happen.
Well, I'd like to be bold again and say we're going to win by 25, 26 or something. But the way we play football at the moment, I'm going to pick us to win by 2 points because that's the way we play. We get in front and then we go negative. So and hang on. So and I'd be very happy with a 2-point win this week for sure. But we're going to have a lot of grey hair by the end of the year if they keep this up.
Vince.
Joe?
I
know what's going.
You're in front.
I'm going for Sydney Swans. You're
going for Sydney?
Yeah. Wow. I don't think we'll beat them. Not at the SCG. If it was in Melbourne, I think we'd beat them. I don't think Chera's going to play. I don't know who they're going to bring in for him. I just had a quick look at some injuries. I don't think the only one that possibly could come in is Marchbank. And then this has just been
Vince had 42 possessions, I think, something like that. Had 40 possessions or something. So
Zach Williams is doubtful for this week as well with a glute injury. They've just put up on the web. So it is a must-win game. And I mean, if we're going to challenge for premiership, these are the games we're going to win. But my mother once said to me, you can't win all the time. That's what makes football great. And I don't think I'm going to stick my neck out and say that the Swans will win probably by a goal or two. Oh, hang on. Peter V. He's going to draw.
Well, we had one of those today.
Yeah, there's too many draws. We don't need any more of them.
No. I am being positive, as much as positive I'd want to be, but I do think that up there, Rhys, you played at the Swans. They do know that ground fairly intimately and fairly well. So just like
they use the ball very well, and they've got some really good. That Eric Goulden, he kicks the ball. He's unbelievable, and Heaney's been in great form this year. I mean, they're midfield, but I don't think they've really come up against anything like our midfield yet.
No, I don't think.
That's where we can really, George Hewitt. He only played a quarter and a bit on the weekend. So
I think he's
come up
nice
going to be against.
He will be a replacement for Chera.
Yeah, and he'll be up against his old team too. So he'll like to impress. So I think the inside stuff we can really take away from them, which is. Been good for them, but they're a dangerous team. But hopefully, we get across the line.
So, who are you going for, Vince?
Well, put it this way: if I go for Carlton, and we win, then Rhys and I will join you in at the top of the footy tipping ladder. True, we'll all be even.
Yeah,
and if I go for Sydney. I'll just stick to within one of you if you happen to get the points and get one ahead of Rhys.
This isn't Survivor, Vince. We're not playing tactical games.
No, I actually think that omission of McCartan will make a massive difference in this game. And I'm looking forward to Harry and Charlie putting on a bit of a show up there. I think it's about time that they took a game by the scruff of the neck. And I do think that Sydney will be stretched down in defence in a way that they haven't been stretched against anyone else before. I noticed that the only loss that they've had this year is against Richmond, who are second last on the ladder with only that one win against Sydney. I think it will be a very close game, but I'm actually going to go for Carlton, and I'm going for Carlton by 8 points.
Okay, so David goes for Carlton by 26 every week.
2 this week.
Oh, 2
Yeah,
points.
2.
Okay.
2 this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 2 this
All right.
week.
So I
Well,
think
I've gone for the
we're going to
Swans.
get up by 8 points. But if I'm wrong and Sydney wins, Joe, you're going to have a nice 2-point buffer on me and Reese.
Yeah.
Do you know something? I hope I'm wrong. How's that?
So do I.
I'll tell you, the SCG is a ground where a forward can kick a lot of goals. So, you know, over the years, you've seen real big bags kicked up there of full forwards being able to really dominate because the ball bypasses a centre forward. It comes out of the middle. It's straight to full forward sort of thing. So,
I think
Harry
it's going to
and
be
Charlie
Charlie's night. I reckon it's going to be Charlie's night.
Well, who's going to play on him? That's what you've got to look at too.
I think Charlie should be kicking 5 goals plus this Friday night, and he ought to make it his ambition to do that.
Yep.
He hasn't kicked the bag for a fair while now.
He needs to. Well, that brings us to the end of our venture with David. But David, before we go, one last time, give it a plug.
Yeah, the Prader-Willi syndrome 15 for 15 challenge. You can get on the website there, 15for15.com.au, and donate there for a very worthy cause and obviously close to my heart with the my young son Cooper there, who's 20 and lives with Prader-Willi syndrome. It's a 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week affliction that he's got, and it's you know, he's doing the best he can, and so are all the kids and people who have got Prader-Willi syndrome. But if you can help out, it's going to a very, very good cause, and will help the people and the families. Can I just ask
one stupid question, David?
Yep.
Even though it's the 15th chromosome that's missing, is there any medication that can help, or is that what this research is all about?
Yeah. There's various research and things going on with that, but and you know, it's there's no pill, there's no
magic potion.
Yeah, it's you know, sort of like unscrambling the egg to a certain extent, which is very, very hard to do. Hopefully, they can do it one day.
Hopefully, yeah.
You know, at this point in time, they're a long, long way off, and a lot more research and a lot more. You know, there's various things, various tools and things we can use to help Cooper along and help him have the best life as possible. But, there's no cure in sight.
Well, I'm sure you and your wife are doing a sterling job given the circumstances, and I'm sure Cooper appreciates every effort. And, guys, like I said, I've donated $50, so dig into your pockets. And as I used to say on the Channel 7 telethon, give till it hurts. Isn't that right, Vince?
Give till it. Is that what they used to say? Give till it hurts.
Yeah, give till it hurts. Yeah.
I thought it was give that they may grow.
Yeah, they changed it from give till it hurts to give that they may grow because I think a lot of people took offense. This is when the wokeness took over, Vince.
Oh, right.
Anyway, so David.
Anyway, no, it is a very worthwhile cause, and the 15 for 15 is all about David Rhys-Jones's 15 greatest highlights. Is that correct on the website?
Yes. So what we do is 15 things over 15 days, and this year it's in conjunction.
When's that start?
Sorry,
is it already started, or is it starting soon?
Does it start on the 16th or 17th of May?
Okay.
And
goes through to the
socials. If you go to look me up on, I've got a public profile there on Facebook, and that's where it'll all be happening. And so we're going 15 highlights / lowlights or whatever of my football career and going over them and having a bit of fun with them. But they weren't all picked out by me either. So I would have been nice. I would have been a bit kinder to myself. But the PR firm who are helping out, they've picked out a few that I sort of still cringe about. But anyway,
well, David, it was a great career.
On behalf of our audience and Vince and myself, thanks for joining us. Have a great week, and we will see you next week.
No worries, and go the Mighty Blues. More importantly,
Blues.
Let's hope we're talking about another good win on Friday night against the Swans.
Let's hope
exactly.
so.
All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
see you, David.
Thanks, Reese.
And there he is,
David Rhys-Jones.
So,
we are very lucky to have him, aren't we, Joe?
We are very lucky. Very, very insightful. Hey, Vince. Apparently, there were some other games. There were some other games over the weekend.
There were. In fact, there were some incredible results over the weekend. Of course, the Carlton-Melbourne game was the game that started the whole round off on Thursday night. The following night, a game, as I said earlier, followed a very similar pattern where Port Adelaide got out of the gates, with an 8-goal first quarter. But Geelong gradually, got back into the game and almost pinched it in the end. But in the end, a controversial decision again, just like our controversial decision for a dangerous tackle went our way and cost Melbourne a goal. There was an advantage rule wasn't paid. It probably should have been paid to Geelong, where Jeremy Cameron ended up kicking a goal, but the umpire called it back. So, again, there's varying views on it. But in the end, they had to retake the kick, and it went through for a point. So, Port Adelaide got over the line. It was a great comeback win after a very disappointing effort in the showdown last week against the Adelaide Crows. So, they've got their season back on track. 15-11, 101. Not easy to do over there at the Cattery in Geelong. 14-11, 95 to the Cats.
Exactly. And the next game, Vince?
The next game was on the same night, in fact, over in the West. A very disappointing effort by the Fremantle Dockers. Of course, they had received the very sad news about the passing of former Fremantle and GWS player in Cam McCarthy, who'd been discovered as having passed away that particular, I think it was either that morning or earlier, or maybe the previous night, I think.
Day.
Yeah. So they got the news earlier that day, and I think that probably took the wind out of a lot of sails there in the Fremantle team. The Sydney Swans totally outpointed them, 13 goals, 9, 87 to Fremantle, 4 goals, 15, 39. Pretty disappointing result for them. But Fremantle just out of the 8 at the moment.
And on Saturday, Vince?
On Saturday, here was a bit of a shock result in some people's eyes, although Hawthorn have been playing a lot better recently. Over there in Launceston, 8 goals, 10, 58 to St Kilda, finding yet another way to lose a close match. 7-11, 53. They kept Hawthorn goalless in the last quarter, but couldn't kick enough goals of their own to get over the line. So Hawthorn by 5 points.
Followed by, this was probably one of the biggest results of the weekend. Again, a lot of people would have thought this is a bit of an upset, but Essendon showing that they are the real deal this year. 12 goals, 10, 82, defeating the team. Well, defeating the team that was probably spruiked as a premiership favourite earlier this year. 9 goals, 8, 62 to the GWS Giants, and when the game was there to be won, Essendon were the team that were putting it on the scoreboard. So good win by 20 points. Then last night we had 2 very one-sided results. The Western Bulldogs coming to Luke Beveridge's rescue, 19-19, 133, 91-point winners. In fact, they were up to 103 points in front at one stage, and I think Richmond kicked the last 2 goals of the game. Richmond 6-6, 42, but gee, isn't Adam Uze I think
finding it a baptism of fire to coach Richmond? Yeah, I think there's also Brendan Gale, their CEO. Brendan Gale resigned as CEO earlier in the week as well. So everyone seems to be jumping ship there at Richmond, whether it's the President Peggy O'Neill a little while ago, and then, of course, Damien Hardwick halfway through last year, and now the CEO, Brendan Gale. So big challenge to take on the Tigers now if you're going to be in a leadership position. They're second last on the ladder at the moment. So 91 points, a big win to the Bulldogs. And, of course, the Gold Coast Suns up there in Darwin, 17-18, 120, defeating North Melbourne, 7-10, 52. And if you have a look at how many games North Melbourne's won in the last 5 years, Joe, it's not a very good story.
No. And today, Vince?
Today, we saw Collingwood basically dismantle the West Coast Eagles there at Marvel Stadium, 15-13, 103 to the West Coast Eagles, 5-7, 37. A convincing 66-point victory to the Magpies. And for the first time this year, one of last year's grand finalists has finally made it into the 8. It's taken till round 9 for either Collingwood or Brisbane to finally make it into the 8. Who would have thought that? So anyway, they're back in the 8, the Magpies. They haven't lost since round 2, Joe.
No.
And, of course, a big draw result there between Adelaide and Brisbane. Really, it was a match where everyone was saying whoever wins is still got their finals chances alive. Whoever loses is probably not going to play finals. And guess what? They play a draw. I don't think either team actually wins as a result of this. No. They both scored 13, 12, 90. Adelaide were a point behind with a minute and a half or so to go, and they just blazed away a bit. They probably, if they took their time a little bit more in those shots for goal, they might have got over the line. But anyway, maybe it was a fitting result because that was a game where the lead changed, I think it was over 20 times. So it was really anyone's game right through to the end, and in the end it was no one's.
Exactly. So let's go to the ladder, Vince.
Well, there we see Sydney in first position with the only team who's only lost the one game. They've won 8 of their 9 and a huge percentage of 151.9, sitting pretty at the top of the ladder. Geelong outright second on 7 wins and 2 losses and a pretty healthy percentage of 124.3. Haven't those two clubs been amazing, Joe, over the last, say, 20 years? I can't remember too many years where either of them don't make the finals. And those two clubs have just been unbelievably run and operated over the last 20 years. It's a credit to them. And then here they are, the 2022 grand finalists, both back on the top of the ladder. Essendon, the big surprise packet, having won 6.5 of their 9 games, only lost 2 up until now. Pretty average percentage here of 98.3, but it doesn't really matter when you keep winning and you've got that draw as well that basically renders your percentage irrelevant. Melbourne bringing up the top 4. Now, they're on 6 wins along with 3 other teams, but they've got the best percentage of 121.1. Narrowly in front of GWS, who are at 120.7. Port Adelaide also on 6 wins on 112.2%. And the last of those 4 teams on 6 wins is Carlton. Here we are in 7th position, a percentage of 109.0. And bringing up the 8, in 8th position, Collingwood, as I mentioned earlier, for the first time this year in the 8, 5.5 wins out of 9 and a percentage of 108.0. Outside the 8, you've got 2 teams on 5 wins, which are Fremantle and Gold Coast, separated on percentage. The Western Bulldogs in outright 11th position on 4 wins. Then we have Adelaide and Brisbane both on 3.5 wins after their draw today, both on 14 points and both with percentages just over the 100 mark. Then these teams, in my opinion, Joe, have no way of making the 8 now. I just think that if you've already lost 6 games and you can basically only lose 9 for the year, if you've only won 3 games and lost 6 already by this stage, it's looking pretty forlorn for clubs like St Kilda, who have lost so many matches narrowly, but nevertheless, a loss is a loss. Hawthorn's gone up to 3 wins now and 6 losses. West Coast on 2 wins, Richmond on 1, and North Melbourne bringing up the rear, still winless and a percentage of just over 56%, looking pretty sick at the bottom of the ladder.
Vince, you know what time it is? Vince,
yes, Joe,
what's your verdict?
It's my verdict. Well, this week, I felt that we've seen decisions that affect games in a very major way. I it still sits uncomfortably with me, and I'm not gonna back down on this position. I've stated it before. There needs to be a means by which clubs can make if you like, a captain's call and ask for a decision to be reviewed. I would make it one decision per match to start with, and see how that goes. But there are too many games being decided by controversial decisions, and as I said, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, it's my wish that this year's premiership is determined by a controversial call that puts the egg on the faces of all of these people at the AFL who refuse to do anything about it.
Okay.
I mentioned what happened in our game, and I mentioned what happened in the Port Adelaide game. Not acceptable to me. It's just, and the quality of the technology that we're using is just,
it's terrible.
Is just so substandard for a game that's, attracting billions, over how many billions in television revenue, and it's just how they can't invest into technology that's going to help the third umpire a lot more than what that they can assist them with now. I don't know. One thing I will say, I've noticed that a lot more decisions are being made by goal umpires, especially that are far more decisive, and sometimes those decisions are being reviewed on the way back. And I think I detected one where they actually said no, that was actually touched, so they brought the ball back. That's fine. I think everyone can live with that. They'd rather see more decisive umpires than wishy-washy ones that just have every single decision reviewed, even though they probably feel 90% sure that it either was touched or wasn't touched, just in case they're asking for things to be reviewed. I think they're being told now, no, make a decision, back yourself. If it's wrong, we'll pick it up on the way back. And I think people are enjoying that side of it a lot more.
Well, maybe
but when it comes to controversial field umpiring decisions, I still think it's just unacceptable.
Maybe they're listening to our show, Vince.
Hopefully.
Anyway, Vince, your bet of the week. You actually won last week.
I picked Carlton. We got over the line by a point, Joe. Now, I only put in $18.70 because you told me our balance was $68.70 or something like that.
It was.
But we
but
no, sorry, not $68.70. It was $108.70. That's
$118.70.
It was $118.70, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we got in the bank now? So if the return's $36.30,
we got $155. But
really?
Yeah, but now you're having a bet this week. You're outlaying $30. Carlton at the line.
I think Carlton at the line, as things stand. Hang on, I'll just change my hat.
Yeah.
Thanks to Sportsbet, who have given us the odds here. $1.90 for Carlton to either win the game or lose by up to 12 points. I think that's too juicy to be true, but I'm going to take it because I think that's a good bet. So
there you go.
I hope I'm right, but you got to back your judgment. I think Carlton will win the game, but this is giving me a 2-goal buffer, which is saying, no, even if you don't win the game, you can lose by up to 12 points. So I'll take that. And if we lose by no more than 12 points or win, we will win this bet. So at $1.90, $30 gets us back $57.
And so that'll bring us over the $200 mark.
Yes. And gamble responsibly out there, everyone. Go hard or go home.
Yeah, exactly. Go hard, go home. That's not like Vince, $18.70. Why don't you put the whole $68.70? $118. Anyway.
No, well, Vince, if we lost it, hey, only 1 point got us over the line, Joe.
Doesn't matter. 1.100. So that brings us to the end of the show. But Vince, the Jumper Punch channel is very busy this week.
It always is.
Got the Jumper Punch with the boys live. Wednesday, rocking the burbs. Let's see if the boys can get arrested again, or Rocco can have a go at someone about dangerous tripods or something. Wednesday night at 7:30, we've got Forever Rivals, which is live. The 4 big clubs in Melbourne, and they get together. I saw Manny had a guest appearance on Rocking the Burbs last week, so that was funny.
Yes, he did well too.
Then on Thursday,
well, roaming the streets of Collingwood, you'd expect him to feel at home, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, you should. You need protection. Then Thursday, we've got our mate in the sandpit, Rash, in the change room live. This is still all over the place. Friday or Saturday to be confirmed. We've got double, which is basketball, but they talk a bit about football. And then, as I always say, we've got the jewel of the crown on Sunday night, which is Blue Sunday. Don't forget, people, like, share, subscribe. Want to see a few more likes during the program. If you're on Facebook, you can find us at either at Blue Sunday or at the Jumper Punch. And on YouTube, you can find us at the Jumper Punch. So, Vince, that brings us to the end of the show.
Can I commend you on something?
Yes.
I don't know if I missed anything, but I couldn't find a mistake in any of your screenshots tonight.
No, there was one. I didn't put the clangers or 1%.
Oh, that's right, in the stats. Oh, there you go. Too good to be true. Yeah, you're right. You got that was meant to be inside 50s. I think you might have.
No, I was meant to put clangers.
You might have gone from one to the other without realising it. Yeah.
Anyway, I should have shut up. But anyway, it's a good night from me.
And a good night from me. Good night, everyone. And happy Mother's Day again to all the mums.
Exactly. And Vince on 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Blues.
Go Blues.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark Blues.